Hi everyone, Materim here with a special treat for you tonight. Tonight is the first battle report with my brand new undersea themed Dread Elves. I am going to be playing them against Michael's Dwarven Holds army with a 4,500 point battle report. This is a battle report to help us get ready for Southern Assault, the next GT our group is going to. Um, I still have not chosen what army I'm going to use, but Michael wanted our normal narrative game fell through tonight. So, Michael wanted practice with his Dwarven Holds, and I painted like a fiend last weekend and finished this army up, so I decided to go ahead and play it as a surprise to him and let him get some practice against some Dread Elves. So, hope you guys enjoyed this one. Let's go ahead and get into the deployment. Okay, starting with the dwarves, he has 25 graybeards with full command and great weapons, no characters in there. Next to that is 24 graybeards with full command and shields. Next to that is a rune-crafted organ gun. Then he has a unit of 24 Kingsguard with full command. In with the King's Guard is his king, who has shield, the holdstone, 2 runes of iron, rune of bronze, rune of destruction, rune of precision, and a rune of might. He then has 2 rune-crafted flame cannons. And then next to that is a unit of 24 Deep Watch with full command. And in that unit, he has his BSB, who has a shield, a holdstone, 2 runes of shielding, and 2 runes of iron. And then his Runic Smith, who has 3 runes of iron and a great weapon, and the battle runes of Gleaming, Reckoning, and Swift Striking. Okay, so then my side. That unit up front is a unit of 18 Corsairs with full command. Behind that, the giant sea serpents there are each a raptor chariot, so I have 3 of those. Behind them is 10 Dancers of Yema with a champion. Oh no, I'm sorry. They actually have full command, and they are carrying the Gleaming icon. On the other side of the hill from those are a unit of 5 Dark Acolytes of Yema. I have the champion there, so of course they've got the spells. In front of that is a unit of 20 Tower Guard with full command. They have the Banner of Blood, and with them is my BSB, who is a captain with the Fleet Commander upgrade. He has the Hero's Sword, the Lucky Shield, the Talisman of Shielding, and the Charm of Cursed Iron. Then up front, the various fish swimming. That is a unit of 5 Harpies. Behind that is a unit of 10 of the Repeater Auxiliary. And the purple guy on the end there is my Oracle, who is a general. Wizard Master with 4 spells to the lore of witchcraft, and the Book of Arcane Power. Next to that is another unit of 10 Repeater Auxiliaries. Each of these Repeater Auxiliary units has a musician in it. And then the red models up front are my Medusa Crabs. I have 3 Medusas right next to each other, and they all have halberds. And then over here is a 3rd unit of Repeater Auxiliaries with a musician. So my opponent dropped everything turn 1, or to get turn 1 rather, which really helped me, because the reason I'm saddled all the way over there on the side is because he's got these 2 elite units, the King's Guard and the Deep Watch, and I wanted nothing of any consequence to encounter them until I could thin out some of this other stuff and find a way to take care of those war machines. My opponent got a little cocky here. given all the sizes of my units. Very small units. So he pushed up as far as he could. Um, the best part about it is I don't think he realized that the whatchamacallit, the Medusas have striders, so none of this terrain really matters. And he moved up far enough that I can get out of his line of sight by squeezing in between those two units. So I'm going to send Medusas to go hunting war machines. Over here, he turns this other Greybeard unit slightly to deal with everything that's coming down that flank. Again, I think he's overestimating how good his bigger units are going to be against my smaller units, which I'm hoping to make him pay for. He gets a shot off with the organ gun and does very poorly. I think he might have only got 10 or 12 shots, something like that. And he just rolled badly to wound and only killed 2 of my Corsairs out of my unit there. Then we go to my turn 1. Of course, I rush up with all of the Medusas, get them out of danger. I do the same thing with the Acolytes, and I move up the Harpies with the hope that he'll actually charge me, and I'll flee, and it'll get him stuck in the water. Because then he won't be able to march out of it, and it's going to take him a long time. I'm just kind of hoping to stick him up there. But we'll see how that works. Over here, I don't think I moved. I'm just kind of showing that I've got clear line of sight to shoot, because I really want to put a herding on the Hammerers before they can get, or the Kingsguard before they can get to me. And over here, I get real aggressive. I come up a lot. My plan is to use some of the magic from the Acolytes to try and handle some of these threats over here. And I've got a special trick I think I want to try on the organ gun and see if that works. Everything else, I want to come up and deal with those Greybeards on the left. They are just great weapons, so anything I've got is going to hit faster and harder than them. So what my ultimate plan is, I made the Corsairs here a very tempting target. I think he's going to charge them. I'm going to flee back through my chariots, who are stupid and don't care, and then I'm going to combo charge with all 3 of the chariots and probably put a really bad hurting on that unit. And so my magic goes off, and I decide to throw Will-o'-the-Wisp on the organ gun, which now gives the organ gun random movement, which means he has to move it during his turn, and he won't get to shoot it. Which is good, because I think he would have blown the Medusa away. I'm not quite so worried with the 2 flame cannons taking on the other Medusas, because he can't do enough wounds to kill him. And I'll just get in there and mess him up. But the organ gun really was going to hurt something. But I think he tried to stop this spell and failed to do so. And so I got it off, and that's fantastic. And I gave the bonus movement to the Medusa that's going after it. Sorry for the blurry picture here, but I end up shooting with the repeater guys and take off 4 of the Kingsguard. My turn 2 goes sort of like I planned. He ends up charging the Corsairs like I expected. I fled with them, and that doesn't go anywhere. But then he gets a really long charge. I think he needed a 10 or an 11 on the dice to get his shield Greatbeards into the front of my Tower Guard. This is the first I've played with this army, so I'm not entirely sure how this is going to go. I'm hoping that with the Tower Guard being an elite unit, I can handle this, but it does make me nervous that I'm getting into fights before I'm ready for them, because this is a really fragile army compared to a lot of the other ones I use, and it doesn't really even have the body count that my Empire does, so I'm I feel like I need to be very picky on how I get into fights, and letting my opponent be the one to choose that seems like an overall bad strategy. Then over here, you see there are 3 units fleeing. The reason for that is he tried, before he got into the tower guard with those graybeards, he tried to charge the acolytes. And I figured the acolytes can flee, maybe they'll rally. But I mistook them for fast cav that could flee and then move after they did. And apparently they don't do that anymore, so that kind of hurts. But this is where they fled, and then he did the redirection and sent him into the tower guard. In the other case, his Kingsguard charged my harpies and they fled. And what I didn't realize is he was actually a lot closer to my general's unit of the Repeater Auxiliary than I thought he was. And when we measured it, it was going to be a pretty easy charge. So he redirected into them, and I decided to flee. So I've got my I got 3 units here in the middle of the board fleeing, and only one of them is within range of the BSB, and that has me nervous. Then over here, he marches his BSB out of the unit to stand in front of one of my Medusa crabs and protect one of the flame cannons, which I'm okay with. My thought is he's moved him out so I can potentially shoot him to death, even though I should have kind of realized that wasn't going to happen. But in either case, I'm going to just kind of run him in circles if I can, because I'm single models here too, so he's not going to get the drop on me at this point. And the random movement, he turns and tries to get away from me and only rolls 4 on the random movement, so he's easily within a charge of this Medusa with the organ gun. And then the flame cannon that's got a free line of fire misfires and takes a wound. And then combat happens, and it's pretty brutal. I end up killing not quite half his unit. I think the way it ended up coming out is I did 10 wounds, he did 9 wounds. And then with the modifiers, he ended up losing by 1 and rolled a 10 on the dice. He wasn't stubborn, or he rolled a 9 on the dice. He rolled basically 1 more than he actually needed. He's too far away from his BSB, so he doesn't get a reroll. He breaks and then rolls boxcars to flee, and I roll 3. So he gets away, but I'm okay with that. I've still got a lot of attacks in this unit, even though he did a lot of damage to me. It's still pretty okay, I'm thinking. Then we go into my turn 2. Again, sorry for some of the blurriness. I end up charging his fleeing unit with the Medusa crab. It flees. I redirect into the organ gun. I charge all 3 of the chariots into the front of the dwarf unit, and not only do I hit with all of them, but because of where he fled, if the chariot if I can break them or kill them all and overrun, the chariot on the right with a high enough overrun will clip the edge of the fleeing unit and destroy them too. So that could be really, really awesome there. Just in case things go badly, I squirmed up my dancers to be able to go in and support. And then on this side, I charge the injured flame cannon and essentially play leapfrog with the BSB and get a little closer to the other cannon, or flame cannon. Over here is awesome because everything that was fleeing rallies, the Corsairs, the Acolytes, my General's unit, and the Harpies all turn around and are ready to get back in this thing. And then I decide I want to bring as much shooting as possible over to this side of the board, so I use Raven's Wing and move my general's unit in the middle there. So now I've got, I mean, they can't shoot this turn, but I've got a lot of shooting over here to kind of thin down these big bricks. Then we go into combat because my shooting all went at his BSB and accomplished nothing. I think with the 40 shots I had, I did 2 wounds, and his 2-up armor saved it. So, but of course, Medusa Crab kills Flame Cannon. This one I don't know why we ran this way. I think it was because it moved last turn and I'm stupid. But I end up doing some wounds to it. I break it in combat, and then we treat it like it ran, even though it was a war machine and it should have just exploded. So it ran off the board and I chased it. I know we shouldn't have done that. I should have sat where I was, but ultimately it didn't much matter. And over here, oh my god, are these chariots awesome. I slammed in with all 3 chariots, which means impact hits. I'm doing 3d6 plus 3 impact hits, and I rolled 17 impact hits. Wait a minute, 6. No, it's more than that. It was, because I rolled a 6, a 6, and a 4, so that's 12, 16, 17, 18, so 19 impact hits. Between that and all the attacks that I got, because he was a great weapon, so he's going last, by the time he got to go, there was a single Greybeard left in the unit. It hit and wounded the middle chariot, did 1 wound to it. Obviously, he's at like negative 20 combat res, breaks, and is run down by the middle chariot. The 2 chariots behind it also overrun, or also tried to run it down, and I rolled like garbage, so I didn't hit the other fleeing unit, which could be problematic depending upon how things go. Except for the fact that we go into Dwarven holds turn 3, and he fails to rally, flees, hits the chariot that had run up front, and bounces off of the board. So those guys are out of here. Over here, he didn't have a good charge against these guys, so he marched again very aggressively. And then he did something I was very happy with. He actually reformed and moved these guys this way. The reason I'm happy with this is because of how far he pushed up with the Deep Watch. He's actually given me an area where I can move all of my units forward and hide out of his line of sight. So he's not going to be able to charge anything with those Deep Watch next turn. So my avoidance is working all right. He gets the Rune of Reckoning off, which I'm okay with letting him have, because there's no way in hell I'm letting him get into combat with me before the start of my next turn. And this Flame Cannon decides to take one last shot before it gets slaughtered, and ends up not doing great, just doing 2 wounds to the dancers. And then Dark Elf turn 3, I have no charges, but you see I run everybody just out of the line of sight of the dwarves there, and I think this is exactly what I want to do. It's kind of starting to piss my opponent off. He's realizing at this point that he probably would have been way better served to stand back and gunline me rather than come out to dance, because I'm not playing that same game, and I don't know that this army for him is very well equipped to play the game that I'm playing on him right now. You can also see in the back there, I did charge the middle Medusa Crab into the remaining Flame Cannon, and then I turned the others and brought them up to basically start circling the noose around the hammer, or the Kingsguard unit. And then here's where the rest of the movement takes me. The acolytes come shooting up behind the dwarves. I bring over the dancers. I turn to face with the tower guard, And the chariots, who are way the hell out of things, are starting their slow move around the forest, because I really don't want to risk having to do charges from the forest and taking dangerous terrain tests to kill them. And there's another picture of them coming around. And the Corsairs are coming around over here too. If you haven't seen my pictures of this on the painting page on the 9th Age forums, you'll notice my Corsairs, those big unit fillers, are actually sea otters standing on a beach. So I'm just very proud of them. I'm very happy with the way this army looks. And basically what I did is I brought up the harpies here into this open area, essentially to act as a stop. I noticed there was kind of one gap that he could have gotten out of the noose, and I've blocked it up with the harpies, so he's not going to be able to escape as I start to tighten it at this point. Over here, I think I get some magic off, because I had to march with everybody here, so I think I did get the 2d6 strength 5 hits from the acolytes on the back of the Kingsguard unit, but I only killed 3 of them. And then over here, I didn't do nearly as well in combat as I thought I would. I only put 2 wounds on the flame cannon and its sticks. And then we go into dwarf turn 4, and my opponent decides he might as well get some points on something, and he ends up charging into the harpies. I don't flee with them because, again, I need to tighten this noose. His overrun, if he chooses to make it, isn't going to put him into anything of import, and it will present his flank to the tower guard, so I'm figuring he'll just reform, which keeps him exactly where I want him to be. And over here, he turns, basically reforms so that he's got a good line of sight, and there shouldn't be any way for my units to get out of his view this time. And now he throws the Rune of Reckoning on. I try to stop it and fail. And he obviously murders the harpies with them inflicting no wounds on him. But then the Dark Elves go on turn 4, and everything hits. In fact, I even charged the dancers in, but I actually couldn't fit them in. I decided to let the Medusa go because that gets me fear there, which is dropping their leadership. But yeah, I wanted to just hit him. I threw the repeaters into his side, the acolytes in his back, the Medusa in his back, the tower guard in his front, the Corsairs in his front. And these guys I'm going real fast. My hope is to just cripple them enough so that even when they attack back, I'm going to win by the damage I've done and static combat res. And then over here, because I can't get out, I reform these 2 groups to set up a double flee situation in the hopes that he won't get to me. And during magic phase, I managed to get Breath of Corruption off, so that's going to give me a toxic attack breath weapon into that combat as well, which is just going to be gross. And then I do some shooting and manage to kill a single Deep Watch, and that's it. Over here, we finally do the combat with the Medusa Crab on the flame cannon, and it dies. And then, holy Jesus, I open everything up. I kill every Kingsguard in the unit before they get the chance to swing. And like I don't even think half of my units got to swing. I think my character, the tower guard, the acolytes, and the breath weapon did it. And by this point, my opponent looks at his king, who is going to get beaten by, so much static combat res, and decides to surrender. So, yeah, Dread Elves victory by surrender in the bottom of 4. And holy crap, was I not really expecting how good this would turn out. Admittedly, my dice were running a little hot. The excessive amount of impact hits was a little insane that deleted the one unit of Greybeards. And the fact that my opponent couldn't rally the other group didn't help either after they broke in combat. Or for that matter, the fact that he broke after only losing by one had to hurt too. Obviously, this would have been an entirely different game if my opponent hadn't underestimated me. So I don't think this would happen again, because I don't think he would, in this same situation, that he would march out, which would not have let my Medusa crabs behind the lines, and then it's just an entirely different game. But I definitely like them as War Machine hunters. I mean, being able to march 14 inches, swift stride with Forest Strider, or with just Strider, because it's everything Strider, is just really good. It gives them a lot of movement. Having all the shooting is nice too. It's a lot of avoidance. It's one of those armies, though, that I don't know how well it will continue to perform as my opponents see what I'm doing. So I think I had a lot of surprise on my side in this game, because even though Michael, my opponent, is the one who owns Dark Elves, he doesn't really like them and doesn't really play them. He just owns them kind of as other figures for his High Elf army. So I don't think he's ever really done a list like this, and didn't really expect what I was going to be doing. I think he expected that I was going to try and fight his units more straight up than I did. I know he certainly was getting annoyed when I was avoiding his Deep Watch, but the way I put it to him is, what did you expect me to do? I've got 10-man crossbowman units versus a 24 or 25-man dwarf unit with super killy characters. Ain't no way in hell I'm going to go up into that in a fair fight. And it would be undread elfy for me to even try. The Tower Guard with the Banner of Blood are really good. I really like them. The Corsairs didn't get a chance to shine, but whatever. The Chariots are awesome. The Dancers didn't really get a chance to shine either, but the thing I do like about this army too is there's just so many bodies that even with shooting, you've got to just kind of pick what's important, and I'm likely to get something through. Just because unless you're going like a complete shooty army, you're not going to be able to take down enough bodies to stop everything from getting through. I'm still not sure if I'm going to take the Dread Elves to Southern Assault. I'm leaning against it. Right now I'm actually leaning more towards Saurian Ancients. But I probably need some more games to kind of make that final decision. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I really love this army because I've been wanting to do an undersea army for a while now. And with this is the Mannix. A lot of these are the Mannix set. My Acolytes are Kelpies from the Reaper range. And it just, it looks really good, and I'm very, very happy with it. So I hope you guys enjoyed seeing it. Wanted to just remind everyone about the Patreon. Thank my existing patrons. I'm not going to go through names again. I think I've done them the last 8 or 9. But you guys know who you are. I super appreciate it. Anybody who would like to help support the channel and what we're doing, you can leave, or I will leave the Patreon link in the page below. But I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you have any suggestions on other models I can find to do the other units in the Dread Elves army, certainly leave them below, because I'm looking for good ideas to be able to thicken the army out a little bit. But thank you guys for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.